Welcome to episode 74 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. I'm your host Matthew with my co-host Hussein.
Yes, sir.
And our camera woman is not here today. Sadly, so we on the one camera struggle view throwback. So shout out to Asia. Asia, I hope you're watching this and you're taking care of yourself. She'll be back, but like nothing happened. I'm like, she's okay. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Right, but she's taking a little break, doing some awesome stuff. So all right. Before we begin to the subject, shout out to the patrons. You guys are going to see them on the screen. We got some exclusive content over on Patreon. Over there, you can check out the videos that we have only there for the patrons, and you can also have your name shouted out on the screen, like as you can see right now. So the patrons on the screen, thank you guys so much. Y'all make it possible. Y'all actually are just paying us to do this, and it's actually allowed us to buy this equipment and tripods, etc. But yeah, Hussein, what are we talking about today?
So I don't know how many of you guys watched the debates, the presidential debates. What was it, 2 nights ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how much of you guys put yourself through that torture. There's also the elections in Iran that are happening. So right now it's like people are preparing themselves to vote. Either they have voted. If you're Iranian, you already voted yesterday, and if you're American, you're ramping up for November, basically. And so we thought now would be a pretty good time to talk about politics, talk about voting, talk about civic duty, and trying to understand basically if we even have a obligation to engage in this political system.
Right.
Yeah. Not just this one, any political system, honestly.
And I think the Muslim Vibe actually talked about this. I think I briefly saw some of that episode. It was not Muslim Vibe. After Maghrib. 1 second. Maybe Jamie and pull this up. Yeah, they had a video, and you guys maybe you want to go check it out. It's called Biden to Rishi. Muslims just don't care anymore, featuring Ali Raza Manji. So people, they're having the same conversation that we're having now 2 weeks ago. If you guys want to check that out. But yeah, sorry, continue.
No, I mean that's it. Matty has some pretty spicy opinions about it.
He's gonna jump to it.
I have some decently spicy opinions about it, I guess. And yeah, we're just gonna jump into it. So Matty, what you got for us?
Bismillah. I mean, I want to preference this, right? I know I'm a yapster, all right, professional yapper. I don't got a college degree. The point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of people who are way smarter than me that have a different opinion about this matter. So I'm not saying by any means this is the most educated opinion. Go for it. This is just honestly how I feel about the matter. I hate people telling me I need to vote when I don't see any evidence that my vote matters. I feel like voting is a tool to herd the sheep of the masses. So I feel like it's a tool of a shepherd. Okay. And it's to bring people together. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the sheep are going to go in the pen. So we can be herded into going a direction one way or another, but we're going to end up in the same place. I guess the framework I'm trying to set up is at the end of the day, other people have made the fence that are holding us in, and we're going to end up in that place, right? We're going to end up where the shepherd wants us to go, and hurting us voting is just a matter of bringing these people together. And I'm not saying no change could be done through votes. I know voting has implemented changes before in the past, but I think with the current structure of our system, I'm not convinced voting matters at all.
It sounds like you're talking about a system,
right?
And so you're saying the system of government, as we understand it here in America, and maybe perhaps abroad in other places, doesn't allow for you to truly express your political will through your vote. I mean, that's one, I don't know if you read the literature, but a lot of people talk, a lot of non-Muslims, obviously, in political philosophy, they'll talk about your vote is the expression of your political will. And therefore you must, it's very good to express your political will. So you should express your political will. These are kind of how the arguments are constructed. So you're saying the system sucks.
Right.
And the system is only going to produce this outcome or that outcome.
Right.
At the end of the day, even if I'm voting, it doesn't really change the way the system is constructed.
Essentially, the system has been created by people already with their own agendas, and there are certain puzzle pieces that will only fit there.
Yeah, for sure.
Period. And I could be
like
asked to vote.
That's like the okay. Okay. I'm gonna push back on that a little. That's like any system, though.
True, but my point is like I think I honestly think most people agree with me in America.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the voting rates are not high. People don't be voting.
It's really like old people that be voting.
Yeah, because they're the
but then you have old people that vote, and then you have young people like us complaining that the structure of society is so geared towards these old heads, Social Security, all these kind of things. It's so geared towards them. How come it's not geared towards us? And then they're not showing out to vote. Now, I want to say, I agree with you. I don't think you need to vote. I don't think there's any obligation, imperative, whatever to vote. But it's interesting that you say that. Not just you, but people say that. And then on the other hand, they're like, oh, well, stuff is not getting done our way. And it's like, okay, you're letting these boomers vote, and they're voting the people that they think have their best interests in mind, and you're not voting.
Well, I think that's a fair assessment, but I also think part of the reason why young people don't vote is also because there aren't people who we see who we even care to vote for. So like if we don't not to say the options don't exist per se, but if we don't see anyone who we like to vote, then we're just not going to vote. If there's already the options for the boomers want, Biden, Trump, basically, then those people are going to vote. But if people would vote if they had a good option, but they don't see a good option, then why would they vote?
I think there's
what's the bridge there? I think there's a lot of people who would vote, like myself included, if we actually saw a candidate that we really believed in. I'll tell you honestly what really put me off from ever thinking of voting. I'm not saying I never would vote. Obama really made me think, damn, ain't nobody good.
You weren't even old enough to vote in Obama's second term.
I know. I'm saying
just watching,
observing, the Muslim community, right? Like seeing Obama run in 2008, right?
In 2012, yeah. He was in office, but whatever.
Seeing Obama run in 2008, seeing how charismatic he was, seeing how much he was bringing in Muslims, bringing in the black community, bringing in all the immigrants, all the minority groups. And then seeing what life was like after he was in office, especially on the Muslim side, people thought, good and bad. People Barack Hussein Obama, he's talking about emo bar, this, that, he was swaggy with it, bro. One of the swaggiest. But
absolutely,
he was risen up. Obama was risen up the Muslim community. Yeah. And at the end of the day, bro, the amount of laws this man signed to the amount of things he put in place, the state spying on people, surveillance states against Muslims,
bombing
everyone. Muslims. He was just this man did worse for the Muslim community than I can't say that the Bush but he doesn't like us.
Yeah.
He's not a what's it called? He's not a colleague, bro. He's a colonizer. You know what I'm saying? He's not like us. So I'm just saying I see people who are charismatic and say they like us. I'm I don't have any. I don't trust these people.
I mean, to your point, there is, because we are in this system, this democratic system, there is limits on how much a change a person can actually any one president in 4 years or even 8 years can actually effectuate, right?
Right.
So even Bernie Sanders, right? He has these ideas that most people in the government currently don't agree with. But even if Bernie Sanders somehow by some miracle became president tomorrow, and he was like, okay, now I want to do Medicare for all. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do free college. Now I want to do this. Now I want to do that. He would have so much trouble actually getting those things done. And sometimes it can be a good thing because it also limits the harm that someone can do.
Right.
So Donald Trump, for example,
yeah.
Unless he, and this is what people say he does, or say that he's going to do, unless he completely throws the rails off of democracy, he can only do so much harm, even if he gets elected again, right? Which after that debate, I don't know if you watched it. Joe Biden was looking rough, but after that debate, it might be more likely that happens. Even if he wins, again, assuming that he's still following the rules of the democracy, there is only so much harm he can do.
Right.
So that's like a negative and a positive to the democratic system. It's interesting because I was having a conversation with someone about this recently, and they were like, benevolent dictatorships are probably the best form of government. And I actually agree. And you see, like, even if you look back historically, a lot of the times when civilizations made great leaps in technological advancement, great leaps in scholarly advancement, it was because they had a leader who was that benevolent dictator.
Right.
He basically said, I know I'm your king. I have the mandate from God. A lot of them also said that, right? Like, I have the mandate from God. I know what you need better than you know what you need, right? And they were right. At least those ones. Some of those ones, right? Some of those leaders. The only bad thing about that system is that when you start seeing them decline, usually it's because you get a benevolent dictator who's not benevolent. He's just a dictator.
Right.
Right?
Or what happens is his son, even if the dictator was great, he dies, his son, either he gets assassinated or he dies, his son or a cousin or a family member takes over, and like it's not they're going to be corrupt.
Yeah, and
right?
so the potential for good in those situations, in that kind of like a leadership scenario, is super high.
Right.
But then also the potential for harm and bad is like equally as high, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, you gotta choose which one you want to stick with. I think, and I've said this and people say it's a cop out, but I think honestly, it'll. Mama Mahdi comes back, we're probably better off without a dictatorship.
Right, and like, I mean, we have like recent examples of benevolent dictatorships, and like I think it's, even if someone doesn't have a good idea, I think the reason why the reason why dictatorships work to an extent is because things get moved forward.
Yeah,
like if an idea is brought forward and the dictator wants to implement it, we get to see it implemented. And then we get to see if it's good or not. Like, there's not like a Congress of like, we need every state senate. Like, no, bro. I said I want to build a wall as high as the sky. We're gonna see that's possible, you know, like, and we're gonna experiment, you know. But that's also, of course, part of the problem.
It's not. To be fair, it's not like a lot of those, dictatorships were completely. It was like the will of one person alone. I mean, a lot of times these people had like groups of advisors that they'd go to, and within those groups of advisors there's people trying to manipulate and pull a certain way and stuff like that. So all that stuff still exists. It's just, again, even with that, the ability for this, and I mean, and you saw when someone was doing too much good, a lot of times they just get killed, right? Too much good for the people, right? A lot of times whoever's in that council is like, bro, he's not filling my pockets enough, so we got to get rid of him, right? So there are these pros and cons.
Yeah.
I think, to your point about, if I would vote if I had someone who I wanted to vote for, or like if there was a good candidate. I hear that, but I do also think there's potentially benefit in harm reduction.
That's true.
I think there is benefit in harm reduction. And again, we talked about like, okay, well, in democracy, people can only do so much harm. That's true. But I think sometimes you get to a point where, like, if you can limit the amount of harm being.
We'll get back to this episode, but first I want to tell you guys about Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can be part of a loyal group of supporters who keep this podcast running. The money we get from Patreon allows us to buy camera equipment, buy microphone equipment, and allows us to keep doing this podcast. For joining our Patreon, you get access to exclusive content that only gets shown there. If you want to know more, click the link down below or visit patreon.com/thoughtful banter. And back to this episode.
Done, even within that small amount that can be done, you still might be better off. So, for example, Biden, as much as people say the opposite, this is not true and it doesn't make sense. Biden is better on Israel than Trump is.
100%. Muslims,
Netanyahu himself, wants Trump back in the presidency.
That's enough for me.
That should tell you something. That should tell you something.
Muslims who are anti, again, I especially as a Muslim, I don't think you should love any, like, come on, you know, we know who our Lord is, right? But Muslims who hate Biden simply off of the fact that he's been in office with what's happening in Palestine going on, that alone isn't a fair assessment, because any president who's going to be in office is not going to be pro-Palestine until the system is no longer bought by AIPAC, right? You already said it. Trump is preferred by Netanyahu. Netanyahu's not our friend. Netanyahu is our sworn enemy. You know, so if I see my enemy want someone in office, we probably shouldn't have that guy in office.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be as simple as that.
Right. I think also like,
and people are like, and people say this thing. They're like, "Oh, well, Trump's not going to take any of Netanyahu's nonsense." And I'm like,
"What is
You're
that?"
Right. Hold on.
Brain rot.
They're like, Trump, you know, he's not going to be pushed around. And I'm like, you're right. He probably won't be pushed around. He's just going to do it because he wants to.
Yeah. People, like, I don't know, like this weird, like, it's like this weird internet culture, like Trump is based.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like this, people try to act like there's this baseness around Trump, and he's not based. He's bought. He likes money. At the end of the day, like, money is his god, and that's probably the god of all these politicians, to be honest. Like, that's who they worship. Trump is no different. And I hate seeing like these presidential debates, because I feel like I'm witnessing the fall of Rome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see like how is this what's happening? Like, I see Joe Biden is an Alzheimer's patient who's racist, and Trump is just a fat pig who is retarded and racist
and lies about everything
and is a chronic liar. Like, Biden can't remember the facts, and Trump knows the facts and lies about them. And I'm like, both of y'all means so little to me.
So I don't know if you watched the debate, but this is basically a discussion that like happened. So I saw a tweet. It was like, this is the debate summed up. Moderator asks the question: Biden rambles unintelligible BS. Trump rambles untrue BS. Moderator, thank you.
Like, there's no, like, I'm like, this is the state of our country. Like, I'm like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the fall of Rome. I know that's an overplayed like allegory, right? But I don't. It's just sad. Like, you see, these are the people who are running for office, the highest office in the country, the country that is the most powerful country on Earth, and we're having debates for these guys that have the nuclear launch codes and make decisions about our welfare.
I saw a video comparing the 2012 debates with Romney and Obama versus Biden and Trump 2 nights ago.
Something happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in the system again. It's like, also, it's like, this shows the American political system. Something wrong is happening, because how is our political system just producing these candidates? You know what I'm saying? Like, something about the system isn't like, they're not bringing up the people who are the most intelligent, the most charismatic. Again, like, what is this? Because there's a lot of people who've been working in office, who've been serving their community, who've been serving their states, who have a legal background, who are like tenured political professionals.
So a lot of these people, a lot of official government positions don't have crazy salaries.
Right.
Like, it's not like, especially if you live in DC, like if you were just a senator or just a congressman, you're probably not making that much money.
Right.
What that does is that filters for people who don't need the money to take those spots. And then they use other means to get a lot of money. I don't know if you've seen like the Nancy Pelosi like tracker on like the stocks and
stuff. She's like a stock trading genius.
Apparently,
she must be, because insider trading is illegal, right? But I don't know. She's not in jail, and she's making nothing but profit.
No. Yeah. So because they're not like well paid, and it's the same thing that happens with teachers, right? The people that are very hyper intelligent and like, good with people, and they could have a good career in anything, they don't gravitate towards, especially if they're from poorer areas, they don't gravitate towards those careers because they know they're not going to get what they need out of them or get what they're worth out of them, right? And so a person who's like wicked smart would love to be a teacher if only the salary wasn't $30,000 a year, instead goes into tech, where they're getting $200,000 a year,
right,
on top of some stock or whatever.
Right. But they're miserable. They know they should be doing something that's like
potentially, yeah.
Right, but they gotta make money, right?
And they have to make money.
You gotta make a return on your investment, especially for a lot of people who are coming out of poverty. Like,
so these government positions are like, some of them pay like $50,000 a year, and it's like, why, if I'm JD, from Harvard, I'm this, I'm that. My prospect, I can literally go, the world is my oyster.
Right.
Why would I go to somewhere that's paying me $50,000 unless I already have the means for that not to really matter to me?
Right.
Right. And so you get these people who like are from this type of background, so they have this type of lens through which they see the world.
Right.
That's just like more broadly. I think that's like a lot of the reason why you get these kind of, is a part of the reason why you get this kind of repetition in the type of candidate that comes out.
Right.
That's one. Two, I think Trump is really an anomaly. Trump, I don't remember exactly what was happening during the time, but Trump came at a time where, I do remember what was happening. BLM was happening. Wokeness was happening. Trans movement, LGBT stuff was happening. All of a sudden, DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff was happening. All of a sudden, whether it was true or not, and perhaps, and there's probably some truth to, there's a little bit of truth to everything usually, even like a grain. Right. Whether it was true or not, a lot of these people, primarily white people, started feeling disenfranchised. Right. Right.
And it is a big societal change happening all at once, really fast. Yeah. Really fast.
And that often happens when like playing fields start leveling, right? I'm not saying that all that would happen. I think some of the stuff that happened was actually very goofy. Right, some of the policies we implemented were very goofy based on that kind of stuff. And you start getting these weird like, oh, well, you're not going to get the job because you're not white, because you're white, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like, we need to hit our transgender quota for hiring in this company. You're qualified, but you're a white male.
Again, how much that actually happened?
Can you be gay for this role?
How much that actually happened is like, something to discuss. Perhaps there's data to look at or something. But the feeling, the sentiment at the time was that like, okay, we're really disenfranchised now. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was the playing field leveling. Maybe it was actually discrimination. Who knows? The details don't really matter, but that was the feeling. Yeah. And then Trump like capitalized on it. Right. Which is why I think he's actually very different than anyone we've had in the past. He's just an idiot.
But he's also like smart. Like he's a smart idiot. He's weird. He's a savant. Like he's a genius at getting attention. He's been in the spotlight his entire. He's like honestly the first influencer. Like if you look at his entire life, this man has been famous forever. Forever has been famous, and like him growing up, like he understands like that wealth stuff better than most people. Like he grew up. His dad already made the millions, living that playboy lifestyle. Like he was a big baller since day one. Narcissistic, always in front of the camera, the spotlights. Like I'm talking about, like, bro, like 30 years ago he was famous. He's been famous forever, and he like all he has all that like money power, but also like that fame power, like name power. Yeah,
no, he knows. Like as far as like, I think you're like nailed it. As far as like marketing, branding, or whatever, right? Like he knows, and I guess he just felt. Maybe he was personally feeling it himself. I doubt it because he's been rich, right? But he just had his finger.
Do you know what it was?
What?
Well, my theory of it.
What's your theory?
Obama pissed him off. Like at least I'm young, but like I remember Trump only really talking about politics when Obama was like,
with the whole like, show me his birth certificate.
show it to me. And I honestly think like you see like a guy like Trump. Maybe I'm wrong, but like. We were just talking crap about Obama, and I think he deserves that. But as a symbol, Obama being like the first black man in office, and not like biracial. You know what I'm saying?
He was biracial,
but not looking like not like a lighter tone.
No, yeah, he's like, if you look at him, you think he's black.
Yeah, like look, just in terms of his
there's no
symbol,
like ambiguity.
Right, black man in office,
black wife
in office, and he's not just black. He's like successful, smooth, confident, and he's didn't act white, quote unquote. And I'm not saying like that in like a I'm saying it's really like he's not like these like other black senators and like these like more white states. Like he talked in a way that's like he's playing like that card, and like
he knew how to like use his specificness,
right? And like and there's people, right? There's really racist people. They see that, and that's that symbol of like blackness. They hate that, and I think Trump is probably one of those kind of people, right? Like, I should be president. This guy's president. What the heck? Like he's like thinking I should be me. I don't know, right? But I know like there are people who just got ticked off, like want to kill themselves just because you're like a black man in office.
Yeah, and then that on top of everything else that was happening socially is probably it created like a perfect storm. So again, I mean, I guess against your point, I actually think Trump is very different than anything we've ever seen.
Right.
Again, look at like the debates from 2012, the debates from 2018, McCain and Romney. Like these guys were not anything like Trump. Like
he was just saying anything, bro. You know what it was? It was like this weird like, and I think people sensed it. It was like the power. Like I don't care.
But
bro.
then
But people, what's stupid is that people are so dumb in marketing. They're like, oh, that means if he doesn't care, that means he's just and he cares about justice. No, it's not that he cares about justice.
Yeah.
He just has his own money. Mm-hmm. But don't think that makes him Batman. Like you're dumb. Like you're thinking, like you watch superhero movies.
You're watching too many movies.
Like you see Tony Stark not carrying a room. He's arrogant, but he's a good guy. It's like, no, this guy's not Tony Stark though.
Yeah.
This guy's an evil billionaire. He's Lex Luthor, right? Who's not, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. Again, like, I don't know how we even got here, but
I'm with it.
Yeah.
There's nihilistic, I don't care.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like a godly, I don't care. Like there's like the Malcolm X, I don't care. Like I know they're going to try to kill me. They did kill me, right? And it's like I'm only fear Allah. Period. Or like a Dr. King. I don't care. Like people are really bad judges of character, bro. Really bad judges.
And it's so funny like, because he garnered all this support, especially with like poor whites, and that's the people he's literally helped the least.
And do you know what it is, bro?
And the people who benefit from Trump being in office, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, are the people who make a lot of money.
Right. And it's not poor white people.
And it's not poor white people.
It's just his fan base. It's rich people, and like a lot of the richest people in this country are immigrants.
Like it's not the person in freaking the middle of nowhere,
Wisconsin,
in the South,
coal mining,
right? Exactly. Whoever that person
trucker
is not benefiting from Trump's presidency at all, other than that, like, reaffirmation of the white identity.
And going back to the whiteness, I think that's what it is, right? Because I think like you see, like we saw Obama in office. I think like if we're looking at it from like a racial perspective, like in America, the way that like the plantation owners, like slave owners, one of the ways they're able to like stop revolts happening, right? Because they see like, we have all these black slaves, and there's a lot of just these poor white people who are helping as well, but like they're employees. It makes more sense for us on a cost benefit analysis to have more slaves, because we don't pay slaves. We have to food and shelter them, but we do as much as we want there. They can die. We don't care. But they're technically taking the jobs away from like these poor white people. So how are we going to, like, you see these two groups now have a benefit in killing us, really, because we're the ones who have the money and resources, and they're both poor. How do we make sure they don't become allies? Well, we tell the poor white people, hey, at least you're not black. And
then we give them positions where they're overseeing them.
Right. And then we turn whiteness into like whiteness. Like you're not just, it's not whiteness, color of skin, like your soul is pure. Like you're morally better. You're not like these black people, bro. You're so much better than them. And that's still going on.
It's like ingrained in the psyche, yeah.
That's like in the places with the poorest white people, that's what it is. And these people are just holding on to that. Like you see like YouTubers be going there. It's like ain't nothing changed since slavery, bro. Like people, I'm saying like in the sense of like people are just hung on to like this culture. Like you see people who like have like the Confederate flag and red bit, and you ask them like, in these interviews, you see like, why are you holding this? My culture. It's like, what's your culture? Like, they're just holding on to this.
A lot of the time, it's so funny because they're actually like pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they still just have like an inherently like low opinion of you if you're anything other.
Right.
It's so interesting.
But it's also like when you see these interviews, like I sense like a deeper insecurity. You know, it's like, and it's kind of like so funny. This kind of even goes to our Hoja conversation in a sense, right? We're talking about we don't understand the holding on of a racial identity as in being like a primary identity. It's just a very limiting belief in like having to only rely on like my ancestors and my DNA for my identity. It's ultimately very limiting because the human experience is so much bigger than DNA. And we look at like Quran, right? And we see like Allah commands us, maybe you know the verse off the top because we recently were talking about it. Allah commands us to travel the earth, right? And there's also the Allah's telling us in the Quran that, you know, I've made you into different tribes and nations so you can get to know one another. Right, like, but you see, like, I don't know. Sorry, I'm yapping.
No, I mean, this one's a pretty interesting territory, and we're not talking about voting anymore, but like, kind of getting to like the philosophy of race aspect of it.
Right.
This woman, she made a paper. She wrote a paper, and she said, "There's like all this discussion about the question of who are you." In terms of like racial understandings, right? And then why it comes up, if it's valid to come up. And she argues that yes, it is valid to come up, especially if you're living in a place where you only see yourself. So like back in the day, if you were only in your tribe or whatever, and you never saw a white person, or you were,
right.
You know, you're either Native American or even other groups of white people.
Right.
There was a time when people with blue eyes were considered like savages, like savages from this area, right? Right. But you live in this group of people and then you see someone and you're like, oh, you look different. You act different. You don't speak the same language. What are you? Who are you? Right. So that's like a completely valid question. And a lot of times what people have in their heads, now that we're in like a more globalized society, we might have like specific stereotypes or ideas about groups of people, types of people, valid or invalid. And the only thing that actually breaks down those barriers is like constant interaction, because then you start seeing things that are contrary to what the idea or stereotype that you had in your head, and you're like, maybe like now even if I keep the stereotype, my mind has now broadened to accept this other characteristic in that stereotype as well. So now I might not be, when I see that person, say perhaps my stereotype was initially like they're violent, and then I interact with one who was nonviolent, and so now I have that in my head. And so the next time I see a person, instead of outright fear, I'm like a little more, I'm cautious still.
Yeah.
Facts. But I'm not completely assuming that a right hook is coming the next second I step up to them, right? Right. And you see with like actual community building, it was interesting you were talking about like the separation of the hierarchies during slavery is I don't know if you've read about the Rainbow Coalition. It's like a Black Panther project, Fred Hampton. They teamed up with this group of white
nationalists. They're nationalists, right?
I don't know if they were nationalists, but they regularly wore Confederate flags.
They're racist.
They regularly wore Confederate flags. But he was like, you know, Fred Hampton in the leadership position was like, we both have the same goal, so let's work together on the same goal. And he actually allowed them to wear their Confederate flags, even when they would come to meetings with everyone together. And that actually made a lot of people mad. Right. That made a lot of people mad. A lot of people left the Black Panthers as a result of it.
Right.
But later in their journey, now he's like, I mean, he's dead, but the guy that he had done it with, the white dude who was wearing the Confederate flag, years later now, he's like, I would never wear that flag again. Right. Because I didn't understand. There was a disconnect between me and this thing and the effect it had on other people. Right. And not only the effect it had on other people, I didn't care about the effect it had on other people.
But it also shows the genius of where Fred Hampton was coming from. Because, did I say his name wrong?
No.
Oh no, that's what Miles. It shows the genius of where he was coming from, because he understood like the reality of when you're dealing with new people and they might be offending you, looking at things from their perspective. he's like, this, I want to unite with these people. They have these other beliefs, but they're willing to come to the meeting, right? They're willing to come, and they're literally portraying racist symbols to me, but to them, what is it? So I need to have a level of tolerance, right? And it really goes to show, like, I think human bodies are just vessels for souls. That's it. We're really attached to our bodies and like the way we look and like us looking like other people as well. Well, at the end of the day, like, what is a human? And it's really crazy. Like, I mean, it must have been even crazier back in the day to like never see other races, right? And like you maybe see another race, they're like aliens, you know, like, okay, if you only around like tall white people with blue eyes, and then you come across like people from like the Amazon rainforest, like brown people who are like really short,
like, yeah,
you know,
close to the ground. Yeah,
you're like, are these even humans? And then you try talking to them, and they're not. You can't understand them. They can't understand you. It's like, they must not be human. But then you meet people, you just realize, bro, we're all just literally everyone's the same. Like internally, everyone's really the same. And like the differences of like the differences we have are like ones of like picking up like environment. Like we have different environments and we put together different cultures. But like this is why I'm saying like holding on to racial identity, ultimately, I think it's we're not going to see it in 100 years with how the world is. I don't think we're going to see it. We're so
That's
interlinked.
a bold prediction.
I think we're so interlinked. I hope we don't. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong to have a admiration for your people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad to like say like, oh, I'm this or I'm that. But like we have it now, I hope everyone's just like.
No, I mean, there's always something that people are gonna draw dividing lines across. Even groups of people in the same area who were basically the same culture, it basically looked the same, still did that. Right. So there's always going to be some aspect of that. So I'm not too convinced of that.
The AI interlinks us all.
I guess maybe
we all feel each other's emotions.
Maybe the potential of AI is like huge in this capacity. I don't know. This is going like way out of what we were initially talking about, but bringing it back.
Right.
Bringing it back to voting and America, and then specifically like the Islamic prescription, right? What as Muslims are we supposed to do as far as civic responsibility, especially in places that are not like Muslim, right? Or are not Islamic, whatever that means or looks like to you. From what I understand, there was an interesting post that was made about this floating around social media from the Imam Bengali. He puts a lot of stuff out there, a lot of times in collaboration with Iqra Online. Anyways, if anyone's interested, go look for that. But also, more broadly, and this is not my point, I'm stealing this from another scholar. As an individual, as a Muslim, as an individual, you have an obligation to make your life, affect change in your life, such that God loves the change that you affect, that you made, right? So that means getting closer to God, you as an individual. And then if you think about it, you when you get married, you and your partner are now together in this journey of you've brought another person into that goal, right? And then you have a family, more people in that goal. And then you have your extended family, so outside of your wife and your children, and you're all trying to move together, right? And then from that extended family, you have the larger community, and your larger community, you're trying to get to move closer to God. So all these things are like, and this is actually sometimes what people say is an argument for Islamic government, is like eventually you're going to reach a critical mass of people all trying to do this movement towards God, that it kind of becomes necessary for there to be a government that also tries to move in that direction, right? Like that's like the logical conclusion of that argument. But anyways, so in your individual journey to effectuate change that God would be proud of, right? Or that God wants you to do, if in your mind to you, and this is a matter of debate, not everyone's going to agree on this, but if voting is something that you do such that like the outcome of that is something that brings you closer to God, or closer to what God wants from you, then you do it. Pretty much, right? Again, if like you think, well, neither of these candidates are great, and neither of these candidates are probably going to do what God wants, right? But one is going to do less of what God doesn't want. And I'm convinced of that.
So you're voting for Biden? Is that what you're saying?
No.
No.
But
aren't you convinced?
I don't.
So now I'm like, I got to flip the script on you. How serious are you about making the world the one that, God would be happier with?
I'm convinced of something else too, which is that my individual vote doesn't actually matter.
Right.
So.
Like, that's also the thing too. They always try to say like, well, your vote might tip the scale. And it's like, no. But at the same time, if everyone thinks their vote won't tip the scale, then no one's going to vote.
That's true.
So
but I don't think that's an argument to get me to vote.
Sounds like you don't want to take on the duty of.
No, I'm not convinced that like my vote is even going to make a difference. In my individual vote, any one person's individual vote doesn't actually make a difference in an election.
Do you know, like, I think also the problem with this country is like we do need like some kind of mini revolution. Like the problem is we have just capitalism is the best system so far, but it's a bit too rampant. We need to sprinkle some socialism in the system. Yeah. Right. And all of the
what do they call it? Social democracy. Right?
I'm just saying a sprinkle. Like, we're just saying a seasons with some socialism. I want like the meat to be capitalism, but I need some socialism spiced. And rub it on the meat. Pause. I need it to be seasoned with socialism, right? Because it's gone too rampant, and the problem right now, like the French do it right. The French don't win wars. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the meme. You can roast French people about never winning wars, always waving their flag of surrender, but they be winning. The people win against the country, bro. They have a history of just like when something happens they don't like it, they just know we're not doing anything else. Matter of fact, the whole country stopped moving. Like, garbage people, we ain't getting no trash, bro. We're gonna be pooping in these streets. Like, until we get like our Friday off, for instance, or something like that. Like, you ain't gonna do nothing, bro. Like, everyone just stops working, and it's effective. And over here, we have too much to win because we have like different people at like different income brackets, right? So even like speaking for myself, if I see like the Starbucks workers are on strike, I'm like, I mean, sucks for them, but my money good. So we have, because of our disparities of wealth, we don't have incentives to like actually all protest together.
Yeah, because like.
So enough people are happy.
Yeah. Enough people are happy. Yeah.
And not even
someone was people. I don't know. I remember we were having this conversation with our friend, and he was like, America has like perfected the formula where enough people are happy. They're not like maybe not even happy. They're more scared of the opposite reality than they are of their current one.
Bro, and it's not even being happy. There's enough people we think I can be happy. Like the American dream is possible. Like, if I just work this much more, if I make this much money.
Honestly, I don't even think it's more. I don't even think it's that. I think it's more like, hey, I'm only making $60,000 a year, but I have this studio apartment. My girlfriend's okay. She has her own job.
Right. Got a car.
I can afford food every month.
Right.
I have a car.
Have some fun.
If I don't work, if I can have some fun. If I don't work, I could lose all of that.
Right. And then,
but if I continue working, even if my life is not the most amazing, I still have what I need. Right.
And then we're going rabbit holes, but I love it. And then the conclusion that there is we don't have social support systems.
I was going to say,
because if we all protest, but I'm like, hey, I'm not working for 6 months, but it's okay because my wife and I and my parents and all of our extended family and friends, we can all support each other. Like, we all live in like the same like very commonly, not even too long ago, like people just live all in the same apartment complex. If everyone here protesting, the landlord not getting his money, but we're all having each other's backs. He's not going to knock on my door and get my rent money. No, we're all strapped like, wait, leave my cousin alone. Leave my, we're all going to figure something out. We all got our own business or something, right? When we're cooking food, we're not cooking food for ourselves. Like, everyone's getting the sandwich, everyone's getting some soup. We'll make it work. when you have like 20 people who got your back and everyone's doing a little something, and you know, we might be a little bit hungry, but we're going to be alive. We're going to be okay. But versus here, if I'm in this overly priced apartment complex I'm looking at right here, I'm probably spending like $4,000 just to be in this tiny studio apartment because it's like in the center of the city that we're in. Those neighbors, they're not going to be my friends. Mm-hmm. They don't care. They don't give a crap about me. You know what I'm saying? There's no support system.
Yeah.
And people are also like, we have like such inflated lifestyles too. Like people just we have things we can't afford. Like the average American, I think, has like a car note that's around like $500 a month. And if you look at the average income, like most people's cars are probably like low key 20% of their income.
Sheesh. Yeah. Maybe more.
We're not living right, bro.
Maybe more, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's all I have to say.
I mean, I think so too. It was a nice little. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching episode 74 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. Again, reminder for you guys to be following us on social media. I just want to say shout out to y'all. We just hit over 1,000 followers on the Instagram. And alhamdulillah, we have 1,600 followers on YouTube. You know, so by the end of this year, inshallah, we're looking at maybe like 2,000 to 3,000 followers on YouTube, maybe a couple thousand on Instagram. We'll see, inshallah. But thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys want to support the podcast via the Patreon. And we'll see you guys next time, inshallah.
Peace.
Peace out.